So I think it's pretty obvious that the press in the US and in the Western world in general fucking lies out of their asses. I think that's pretty obvious, right? They lie about countries in the global south. They lie about Russia. They lie about Iran. They lie about the DPRK. They lie about China. They lie about Venezuela. They lie about Eritrea. Well, Eritrea is just another example where this little piece of information, or as I should say, piece of shit, because that's what it is, it's literal shit, creating more so-called dictator hoaxes and torture hoaxes and just making up a bunch of fucking lies and hoaxes about countries that they don't like. So instead of talking about the issues at home, about the US being the world's biggest fucking penal colony, even though that we are 5% of the world's population, but 25% of our people are in prison. But this little hoax right here, where we're gonna sit there and say that it's Eritrea that has inmates in prison for all these bad, horrible reasons and everything else, and it is my duty to mock the shit out of Western bullshit lies, and I'm about to do it again. And this certainly is not going to be my last. So stay tuned and enjoy the program. What is up, everybody? It's Zach the Celtics guy here. So, I am here with another video, here with the Global Report. So, what is in for today for the Global Report? Well, this fake story by the Washington Post. I mean, this is basically what the Washington Post does. I mean, this is just what the I mean, this is just what the Washington Post does in general, but this but this fucking story here, I can't even begin to tell you. Like, I can't even begin to tell you guys just how bullshittery that this story is. Okay, like I can't even begin to tell you guys just the just the amount of fucking bullshit that's here. So this article from the Washington Post, and I showed you guys a little bit of a I showed you guys a little bit of like a screen like a screenshot of it and whatnot, but this is basically what it is here. It says about the tiny African nation of Eritrea is a sliver of fear wedged between Ethiopia and the Red Sea. I don't even know what that fucking means, but okay. A single strong man leader in the shadows of repression since independence 3,000 years. Nothing exemplifies the reach and cruelty of the state today as much as its prison system. Their prison system. So instead of focusing on the prison system in this country, which I know for a fact is 50 million times worse and probably has 50 times more people in prison than Eritrea has in prison, but we're going to sit there and are going to accuse Eritrea. We're going to sit there and accuse Eritrea of having people in prison. It's like another one of those political prison hoaxes where it's like, you know how all talk about where you went to college in America? In Eritrea, we do that with prisons. Oh my God. You could literally say the same thing about us. You could literally say the same thing about our fucking country. You could say the same thing about our country where our fucking bullshit government has been on the forefront of mass incarceration. And you know who is one of the biggest leaders in mass incarceration? Oh, that would be our current president. The man who wrote the 1994 crime bill, which, made three strikes and you're out for like tiny bullshit drug charges, putting people in prison for life for like their second or third drug possession charge and bullshit like that, and then leading the forefront of the drug war. The drug war is the biggest driver of mass incarceration in the US. And now, of course, with abortion in the US as well being curtailed in stupid ways. And I'm not talking like horrible things like infanticide. I'm talking like legitimate cases of abortion where it is necessary to save the woman's life and whatnot, or in the case of rape and incest. No, I get now there's women and doctors going to prison in some, like, in some backward red states now because with Roe v. Wade overturned. So yeah, now that's obviously going to lead to more people going to prison, more women going to prison, and more people going to prison and all that other shit. So you got that. You got all this stuff on top of it. So, like I said, 5% of the world's population, yet 25% of the world's population that is in prison in the US. So there is no legitimacy here. There is no legitimacy here whatsoever for the US to say anything about Eritrea whatsoever when Eritrea has not done anything even close. Eritrea has done nothing. Their only crime has been standing up to the U.S. empire. The Eritrea being close to Russia, being close to China, speaking out against Western bullshit, speaking out on the bullshit sanctions that these Western nations have inflicted on Eritrea, and the great leader of that country, President Isaias Afwerki, who is my favorite African leader. He is my favorite leader on the entire African continent. You know why? Because he's the bravest leader. I've seen interviews with him, including an interview with CGTN, which I did work on with regards to this channel. I responded to it back in May of last year. I encourage you guys to watch it. It was a great interview. It was an interview completely different than how it would be in the Western media, in the Western press. Like, are you fucking kidding me? The dude would be talked over every single second. No, the stuff that they accuse Eritrea of doing is absolute bullshit. Eritrea has not done anything, and I mean anything, even close to the stuff and I would say that they've done nothing really wrong at all. Yes, no one is above criticism. No country, no leader, no political party, no one is above criticism. I understand that entirely. No one's above criticism. I get that. I'm not sitting here saying that no one is above criticism. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I'm sympathetic with Eritrea. I'm sympathetic with Iran. I'm sympathetic with Syria, the DPRK, Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua. I am sympathetic with all these nations. I'm sympathetic with Syria. I'm sympathetic with China, with Russia. I'm sympathetic with all the countries that are being bullied by the US empire and the Western empires. Niger is one of them. Niger in Africa as well. Being bullied by France getting their asses kicked out, stuff like that. I am on the forefront of doing that. But no, this has got to be one of the dumbest things I have ever read. One of the dumbest things I've read, and this year has barely even started. This year has barely even started. And now they're sitting here and they're now sitting here and they're now accusing Eritrea of having these prisoners and having these political prisoners. Every time they've always accused someone of having political prisoners, it's always been a hoax. It has always been a hoax 99% of the time. The notion that Cuba has political prisoners is absolute bullshit. Venezuela having political prisoners, it's absolute bullshit. Just like they do about the Uyghur hoax, the Uyghurs in the concentration camps. This fucking anti-China bullshit about the Uyghurs. Oh, the DPRK having political prisoners in the concentration camps. I don't fucking buy it. I do not buy it. I don't buy this shit about Eritrea either. I don't buy this bullshit about Eritrea. I just do not. I don't buy any of this stuff when it comes to Eritrea. I do not. I do not believe it. I don't believe it, and I will never believe it because I will never believe Western media ever in my life. I will never trust anything our politicians say. I will never trust what our government says. I will never trust what these politicians say. I'll never trust what our press says. I will only the only media that I believe is media that comes out of China and Russia and comes out of independent countries, even media from India to a lesser, like NDTV and like what's the other one? Hindusan Today or so to Time, Hindusan Times or something along those lines. Like ones like that. Like I don't believe fucking bullshit like BBC, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN. I don't believe this fucking bullshit. I do not believe France 24. I don't believe VOA. I fucking hate VOA. VOA is a fucking piece of shit US government outlet. I fucking hate Radio Free Europe. They're another bullshit outlet. They're another bullshit Western outlet. Radio Free Asia is another bullshit Western outlet. I don't believe none of them. None of them. They're all a bunch of fucking lying scum. That's all they are. All they want to do is just overthrow these nations. That's all they want. They are so hell-bent on overthrowing these nations. Why else would they be complaining about it? When there's so many other issues in the world, there's so many other pressing things that's going on. There's so many other things that you could critique about what's going on here, what's going on. Oh, you could talk about all the stuff that's going on in Pisrael. You could talk about in Pisrael, where Gaza is an open air prison, where the people are being treated like slaves. Palestine, Gaza, the West Bank. No, they're not going to talk about that. They're not going to talk about the fact that Pisrael is putting their own people in prison for not wanting to fight in this fucking bullshit war of theirs that Netanyahu started, not Hamas. Hamas didn't start it, okay? Hamas didn't fucking start this war. Pisrael did. Pisrael did by being in their land. They don't want Hamas to attack them. Well, then don't be in their fucking land and they won't do anything. Simple as that. Just like the times that they smeared all these different people. They said this is what they do. This is what the Western press does. Who do you think occupies the Western press? The Zionist entity. Israel dominates our fucking press. Israel controls our elections. Israel tells that this is the reason why. Israel controls our elections. The Israeli government owns our elections. They own our press. They influence our elections. Russia doesn't influence our elections. Russia doesn't influence our elections. None of them influence it. The only one that does is Pisrael. Pisrael is the only one that does. And Ukraine, too, of course. And, of course, the dictatorial state of fucking shit Ukraine. Oh, you want to talk about dictatorial governments? Well, why don't we talk about Zelensky? Why don't we talk about Zelensky? Fucking Vladimir Zelensky, Mr. Garbage Waste Man, gym teacher waste man looking fucker, has banned opposition media. This man has fucking banned opposition media. He's cracked down on communists and leftists and anti-war groups. He has banned the Russian Orthodox Church. He has censored pro-Russian news outlets. He has cracked down on free speech on the internet. He has done all those things. And anyone who says that I'm an authoritarian apologist, well, if I was an authoritarian apologist, then I would support Zelensky and what he's doing. I do not, because I am a free speech absolutist. I 100% believe in free speech. I do 100%. But every single thing that the Western press says about Eritrea is a lie, is a fucking lie, and I don't believe it, and I never will believe it. And there's not a goddamn thing in the human earth that is going to make me believe any of the negative bullshit that you say about them. I'm not. My views are set in stone. You will not change my view. You will not change my view that Russia is acting in self-defense over Ukraine. You will not change my mind about the fact that the Uyghur hoax is a fucking hoax, that the Uyghur genocide is a hoax. You will not convince me otherwise that the Syrian chemical weapons attacks were staged in their hoaxes. You're not going to convince me that Assad used chemical weapons. It's a fucking bullshit lie. You're not going to convince me that Kim Jong-un has political prisoners in these concentration camps. It's a fucking bullshit lie. You're not going to convince me of that either. You're not going to convince me that Iran is targeting women's rights protests. Another bullshit lie. You're not going to convince me that Venezuela is poor because of socialism. They're poor because the U.S. has fucked them over with economic terrorism, just like Cuba for over 60 years. The same thing. You're not going to convince me that socialism is the problem in Latin America. You're not going to convince me of that either. You're not going to convince me of any of this stuff. There's nothing in this world that is going to convince me that these nations are any of the things that they say that they are. I don't believe it. I never have believed it, and I never will. And there's nothing, and I mean nothing, will ever convince me otherwise. You won't convince me of any wrongdoing, because there is no wrongdoing on behalf of Eritrea. Now, do I think that these governments that I support on this channel that are so-called authoritarian regimes when they're really not? Do I think they've made mistakes? Of course. Like I said, no country, no group, no person, nobody's above criticism. I'm not even above criticism, okay? I'm just calling out the lies. I call out the lies when I see them. That's all I'm doing here. And that is what I will do. That is what I do. And that is what I will continue to do. And no one's going to change my mind on that. I support Eritrea. I support the president of I support the president of Eritrea. I support President Afwerki. I support the special military operation. I support the CCP. I support the Bolivarian Revolution. I support Assad in Syria. I support every group and person that is anti-Western. I support every Marxist group, every communist group. I support every one of them as a fellow Marxist. I support them. The party in Eritrea, the party in Eritrea that the president is the one that he's a part of, he party is I want you to think about that. The president of Eritrea, his party, the People's Front for Democracy and Justice, his party promotes socialism. The factions are socialism. Secularism, militarism. But now there's this nonsense that secularism is now tyrannical when it's the complete opposite. The party has been described as authoritarian. Authoritarian, my fucking ass. Okay, I guess they were a successor to a Marxist-Leninist party. Well, no, no. I support them, and I support them against the West, and I support friendship between the American people and the Eritrean people. I've had Eritrean people comment on my video where I've defended their president, and many people came out, thousands of views, people came out saying thank you for supporting their president. So think about that. If Eritrea was such a bad, evil dictatorship, why are there people that came out on my channel? These are people from Eritrea that came out in support of their president and thanking me for supporting their president. You see what I mean? It doesn't add up. Eritrea is not a dictatorship. None of these countries are dictatorships. They're just countries that the U.S. doesn't like. That's all they are. You can say it about Eritrea. You can say it about Syria, Iran, Cuba, the DPRK, China, Russia, Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, Bolivia. You could say it about any of these nations. You could say it about Belarus. You could say it about just any of them. You could even have said it about Zimbabwe under Robert Mugabe, and even still to this day. These countries are not dictatorships. None of these countries are. What's the other one? Yeah, Vietnam is the other one. Well, I guess the U.S. is trying to cozy up with Vietnam to try to get them away from China. But here's the thing. These countries are not dictatorships. The only thing that they're just countries that the U.S. and the West doesn't like and wants to undermine for bullshit geopolitical reasons, to make them submit to the U.S. empire, to make them submit to the Western bullshit ways. Well, that's not how those people operate. Those people are independent. Those people are independent people with independent governments, independent presidents, and they have a right to their own determination. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. And I will defend these countries every step of the way. Because I am not a brainwashed American that believes everything the media and the government says. The US is the most propagandized nation on planet Earth. The average American does not know what goes on beyond the borders of the US. We are a propagandized nation. The average American is fucking brain dead. The average American is fucking stupid and has zero grounds on education and has zero grounds on what goes on beyond the US's borders. That's just a fucking fact. That is just a fact. And it's because of our education system. It's because of our government. It's because of them, because they dumbed us all down. Well, I'm not one of them. And I'm going to lead the pack and I'm going to speak out against it because I am not one of them. I am not the American stereotype. I am not the brainwashed American. I am not one of them and I refuse to be. I am not. I am not and I refuse to be. Period. I am not. And I will continue to speak out and I will support these nations every step of the way. And if you don't like it, well, a certain Zach the County guy supporting these dictatorships and all that. And he said, you want to move to Russia? I know who these assholes are. Okay? I know who you, and if you don't like it, if you don't like the fact that if you don't like the fact channel has a pro-Kremlin line, if you don't like the fact that I'm a Marxist, if you don't like the fact that I'm far left and I have a far left channel, if you're a certain asshole who talks like this, Jack the Celtic guy, and his name begins with A, and he has a penguin, he's a certain, his name begins with A, and his name begins with A, and he has a little penguin profile, and he talks like this about that Jack the Celtic guy supporting Russia. Well, if you don't like it, tough shit. Like I said, if you don't like the fact that I'm a Marxist, if you don't like the fact that I maintain a pro-Kremlin line on this channel and elsewhere, if you don't like the fact that I support these nations, if you're a certain A asshole whose name begins with the letter A and he has a fucking penguin profile, but yet he's not a penguin. Penguins are sweet, cute animals. This guy's a fucking asshole. If you're a certain A guy who talks like this, is that Jack the Celtics guy, and his name begins with A. Well, if you don't like it, then tough shit. Well, I just couldn't help but make this without making that little jab right there. Well, hope you all enjoyed this video here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all learned something. Hope you all learn this so that way we can fight against the propaganda, as always. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Enjoy, and I will be back tomorrow, Friday, at 7 p.m. Because I am not working, I will be here at home because I got my paid days off. So episode 199 will be out tomorrow. So look out for that and a whole bunch of other stuff in the works. Stay tuned. Until then, stay safe, stay well, stay classy, keep fighting, and keep on rocking. Till next time, take care of yourselves and all of each other. And again, unless you're a certain asshole whose name begins with A and he talks about how bad Jack the Celtic guy is, or if you're a certain studman who's too busy playing Boogie with the Boys. Unless you're one of them, well, if you're one of them, then go fuck yourself. But if you're not, and you're one of the homies on this channel, well, stay tuned, and I'll see you next time. Good night, peace out, and so long.